siddhai nikunja jonarati keli siddhai jajali vijyuktir apekshaniya nikunja jonarati keli siddhai jajali vijyuktir apekshaniya tatrati dakshadati ballavasham vande gurasi charanarabindam vande gurasi charanarabindam vande gurasi charanarabindam vande gurasi charanarabindam Caitanya-caritāmṛta vande gurasi charanarabindam vande gurasi charanarabindam vande gurasi charanarabindam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we want to welcome everyone this evening to our reading and discussion on the Caitanya-caritāmṛta being led by His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, our dear godbrother. And before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have a godbrother who is now beginning his journey from this body in England. His name is Kamsahanta Prabhu. Kamsahanta joined with us in Toronto after we went on a traveling Sankirtan party up north and met him and his wife. And they moved to Toronto, and he did great service for the Toronto Temple. He was expert designer and helped to do the drawings for the design of the Toronto Temple, which was a miniature reflection of Krishna Balaram Mandir, the front face. So we put it inside the large church that we purchased for Srila Prabhupada back in 1976. So our prayers go out to him. I saw different notices. It seems that he's barely conscious, but uttering the holy name occasionally. So it brings us to the realization that we're all under this rule, the rule of birth, death, disease, and old age. It's a law, material law. and all of us face it. So the idea of these programs is to help everyone prepare in this human form of life for going back to Godhead with the correct formula of understanding Guru Tattva, not the confusion. And before we get going with our reading, I wanted to say I'm shooting today's show from Casagoloca in Mexico, near Mexico City, and it's a small town called Yautepec. And our friend from Buffalo, Gopal was his name. He lived in the Buffalo Temple back in the 70s, purchased this yoga retreat, Bhakti Yoga retreat, and we're celebrating our stay here with him. And that's what you're going to hear in the background is all the dogs barking because we're out in the main hall here. And we're going to go ahead with the reading. And we hope you enjoy this opportunity to work with other devotees in propagating Prabhupada's original teachings without any adulteration in his books. And I'm reading the Nectar of Devotion. This is a reprint, but it's the original copy, unedited. And it was very, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, it was very moving for me to read it because I remember back in the 70s when we got this book, it was one of few books that we actually had, which was the Nectar of Devotion. So it had a lot of information for us in this particular book that Prabhupada produced back then. And so we want to connect this writing with Prabhupada's early years presenting the philosophy to new disciples who are interested in learning about Chaitanya Vaishnavism, had no understanding at all of what it was. But at the same time, Prabhupada, our guru, our teacher, was designing the mission based on his ability, his transcendental ability to deliver the message to his neophyte disciples. And so the particular clarity in which he explains the philosophy to us back then, and now it's still relevant now, Nilesh. It's still relevant now in this 2024, despite the fact that very few people are really interested. That's what we're seeing. People are not very serious about spiritual life. And that goes on in this world because everybody has their own particular independent attitude towards life. It's more like anarchy. But we're going to read here. We'll go to this right now. So this is the Nectar of Devotion, and it's 22 Roman numerals, page 22. And hopefully our God brother Rupesh, I did send it to him a couple of hours ago, so he would be ready. Here is the section I wanted us to go to. There's two sections here. I'm going to make some quick comments on it. So go down to similarly, Rupesh, down to the bottom of that page there. Yeah, right there, go to that. Just slide her down. Similarly, we can offer many services with our bodily activities, but all such activities must be in relationship with Krishna. This relationship is established by connecting oneself with the bona fide spiritual master, who is the direct representative of Krishna in disciplic succession. So we all understood back then, Nilesh, that was Srila Prabhupada not telling us that he is the bona fide spiritual master, but showing us by his personal example how he is the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, the execution of Krishna conscious activities with the body should be directed by the spiritual master and then performed with faith. Two aspects to it. perform the service, and have faith, implicit faith in the words of the spiritual master. And in this way, all the revelation of Krishna consciousness is there for the disciple. The connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. So there's a lot of question about initiation, especially with Prabhupada's departure from the physical plane in November 1977. But he did give a system for initiation called the Ritvik system, which we do follow by our own personal experience under his guidance, both myself and His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. We are not concocting this process. It was delivered by Prabhupada to us. So some people think initiation, like there was one lady that was coming to our group. I asked her, "Are you a disciple of Srila Prabhupada?" She goes, "Yes, I am." I said, "How did you get initiated?" She said to me, "Oh, Prabhupada came to me in a dream and told me my spiritual name and initiated me as his disciple." Okay, so very interesting, but that's not the system. That is not the system. Like you can be a follower of Srila Prabhupada, that's fine. And we encourage people to follow Srila Prabhupada. But initiation, here Prabhupada is stressing the importance of formal initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. That's how you do it. Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. The actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed. Okay, you can concoct that, you can interpret it, you can speculate on it, you can do anything you want with these words, but unless you take the guidance of bona fide Siksha gurus, people that understand this philosophy, who have lived it for over 50 or 60 years and practiced it, then it'll be difficult to understand this. Otherwise, you'll dream and think, oh, I become a spiritual master, just like this Purujit fellow in England. He concocts everything. Let's go forward here. We'll read one last section. Very enlightful, very insightful, my dear God brothers and God sisters. In the Caitanya-caritāmṛta by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Lord Chaitanya states that it is a fortunate person who comes in contact with a bona fide spiritual master by the grace of Krishna. Excuse me here. By the grace of Krishna, and one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness. In this way, the whole jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness is directly under the spiritual energy Krishna and the spiritual master A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This has nothing to do with the material world. Very interesting, huh? When we speak of Krishna and refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead along with his many expansions, he's expanded by his plenary parts and parcels, his differentiated parts and parcels, and his different energies. Krishna, in other words, means everything and includes everything. That's one of my favorite quotes on the definition of Krishna, Nilesh. Krishna means everything and includes everything. Krishna, in other words, however, generally, we should understand Krishna to mean Krishna and his personal expansion. Krishna expands himself as Baladev, Shankarshan, Vasudeva, Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Rama, Nrsimha, and Braha, as well as many other incarnations and innumerable expansions. These are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam to be as numerous as the uncountable waves. So Krishna includes all such expansions as well as his pure devotees. Please. That is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who humbly doesn't mention himself, but is. And he lives with us in his Vani incarnation. And we are serving him eternally in that incarnation of sound under his instructions and his personal guidance, which should be carefully studied by all serious students of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, His Divine Grace, because this is the path of liberation. This is the path back home, back to Godhead. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan mission. Please, Prabhus, let us stay steady in our devotional service together online as we continue to build our mission to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, to the human society who is bewildered by their mass confusion in the modes of ignorance and passion. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari by Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll have our class with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu in Twain Harte, California. Haribol.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridharan ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I do offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, one, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, two, to the Nara-Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, three, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then four, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1, 2, 4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. As we've discussed several times, we will be reading a few selected verses from the Adi Lila, chapter 1, from text number 18 through 22, which describes the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita-ācārya, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Etina Thakur Gaudiya Ki Karyechana Yatmasat. Etinera Charana Vandana Tire Morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grantera Bikari Mangala Charana, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smarani Ai Vigna Vinashana, Anayase Ai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desire. Grante Semangala Charanoi Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shiravada Namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. As we have discussed before, we will proceed with our reading of this very auspicious section of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, all synonyms, translations, and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. We are reading from Adi Lila, Chapter 5, Text 37. Taichi paravyomanana chakti vilas, nirvishesha jyotirbimba bahiri prakash. Taiche, in that way, paravyome, in the spiritual sky, nana, varieties, chit shakti vilasa, pastimes of spiritual energy, nirvishesha, impersonal, jyotihi, of the effulgence, bimba, reflection, bahire, externally, prakasha, manifested. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Thus, in the spiritual sky, there are varieties of pastimes within the spiritual energy. Outside the Vaikuntha planets appears the impersonal reflection of light. Text 38. Nirvishesha Brahmase Keval Jyotirmaya Sayujera Adhikari Tanrapaya Laya. Nirvishesha Brahma, the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Say that, Kevala, only. Jyoti Maya, effulgent rays. Sayujera, the liberation called Sayujya, oneness with the Supreme. Adhikari, one who is fit for. Tanha, there, in the impersonal Brahman effulgence. Paya, gets. Laya, merging. Translation. That impersonal Brahman effulgence consists only of the effulgent rays of the Lord. Those fit for Sayujya liberation merge into that effulgence. Text 39. Siddhalokastu tamasaha pariyatra vasantihi siddha brahma sukhe magna detyaschaharina hataha. Siddhalokaha, the Siddhaloka, or impersonal Brahman. Two, but, tamasaha, of darkness. Pare, beyond the jurisdiction. Yatra, where. Vasanti, reside. He, certainly. Siddha, the spiritually perfect. Brahmasukhe, in the transcendental bliss of becoming one with the Supreme. Magna, absorbed. Daityaha cha, as well as the demons. Harina, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hata, killed. Translation. Beyond the region of ignorance, the material cosmic manifestation, lies the realm of Siddhaloka. The Siddhas reside there, absorbed in the bliss of Brahman. Demons killed by the Lord also attain that realm. Purport. Tama means darkness. The material world is dark, and beyond the material world is light. In other words, after passing through the entire material atmosphere, one can come to the luminous spiritual sky, whose impersonal effulgence is known as Siddha Loka. Mayavadi philosophers who aspire to merge with the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as well as demoniac persons such as Kamsa and Shishupala, who are killed by Krishna, enter that Brahman effulgence. Yogis who attain oneness through meditation, according to the Patanjali yoga system, also reach Siddhaloka. This is a verse from the Brahmanda Purana, text number 40. Si paravyoma narayanera charipache, dwaraka chaturvyera dvitiya prakashe. Say that paravyome, in the spiritual sky, Narayanera, of Lord Narayana, Charipashe, on four sides, Dwaraka, Dwarka, Chaturvyuhera, of the quadruple expansions, Dvitiya, the second, Prakashe, manifestation, translation. In that spiritual sky on the four sides of Narayana are the second expansions of the quadruple expansions of Dwaraka. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Within the spiritual sky is a second manifestation of the quadruple forms of Dwaraka from the abode of Krishna. Among these forms, which are all spiritual and immune to the material modes, Sri Baladeva is represented as Mahasankarshana. The actions in the spiritual sky are manifested by the internal potency in pure spiritual existence. They expand in 6 transcendental opulences, which are all manifestations of Mahasankarshana, who is the ultimate reservoir and objective of all living entities. Although belonging to the marginal potency known as Jiva Shakti, the spiritual sparks known as the living entities are subjected to the conditions of material energy. It is because these sparks are related with both the internal and external potencies of the Lord that they are known as belonging to the marginal potency. In considering the quadruple forms of the absolute personality of Godhead, known as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, the impersonalists headed by Sripad Shankaracharya have interpreted the aphorism of the Vedanta Sutra in a way suitable for the impersonalist school. To provide the intrinsic import of such aphorism, however, Srila Rupa Goswami, the leader of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, has properly replied to the impersonalists in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita, which is a natural commentary on the aphorism of the Vedanta Sutras. The Padma Purana, as quoted by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Laghu Bhagavatamrita, described that in the spiritual sky there are 4 directions corresponding to east, west, north, and south, in which Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Aniruddha, and Pradyumna are situated. The same forms are also situated in the material sky. The Padma Purana also describes a place in the spiritual sky known as Vedavatipura, where Vasudeva resides. In the Vishnu Loka, which is above Satya Loka, Sankarshana resides. Mahasankarshana is another name of Sankarshana. Pradyumna lives in Dwaraka Pura. In Aniruddha lies on the eternal bed of Shesha, generally known as Ananta Shaya, in the island called Shvetadvipa in the ocean of milk. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Gurave Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityānanda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine nirvishesha shunyavadi paschatya deshatarine bhakti siddhanta shishyaya Bhaktivedanta namine prasannaya prasantaya tasmai shigurave namaha bhagavad vandanam kadyam guru vandana purvakam kshiram sharkara yuktam kadate visheshatah adadana strinam danter idam yache punah punah Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatosmyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Satkaromi Svam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Several times in Srila Prabhupada's teachings, we see that His Divine Grace is quoting from different parts of the Vedic literatures, and he's quoting an old Vedic saying, Tamasa ma jyotirgamaya, do not remain in darkness, but go to the light. Interestingly, when we study Bhagavad Gita very carefully, we see that Lord Krishna himself is trying to entice the living entities to come back to their original spiritual position. Yad gatva nanivartante tadama paramam mama. Krishna promises that once you go back to that abode, you don't come back and suffer here. You don't come back here. Just the other day, I had a relative who had to undergo a medical procedure. And she was relating that people in the hospital, so many people are complaining. I'm suffering from this disease, that disease. I'm suffering from this condition, that condition. I'm afraid to die. I'm afraid of this. I had this medical problem, that medical problem. And the lamentation goes on and on. Why? Because people have a material body which by nature brings suffering. That is the nature of the material body. But under the influence of Maya, illusion, people think they're very happy. They think that this body is their possession, that this family, this wife, husband, children, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, everybody, that society, this is so important. No, we're not trying to minimize or decry these natural relationships, but these are very temporary. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto, these impermanent relationships are compared to little pieces of straw in the ocean that comes together, and again they are separated, never to come back again. That is the same condition that we have in the material world. We have these temporary, transient relationships, and everybody is thinking that this is so important. It's important just for some time, for a limited time. But why do you suffer? Why are you subjected to so much suffering? Just recently in Florida, so I'll take our good friend Nityānanda Prabhu knows this, there was some hurricane. So the hurricane passed through certain areas of Florida, it went to North Carolina, and it caused so much havoc. So the question comes for those people who do not accept the authority of God, the authority of Krishna, why don't you stop the hurricane? stop the hurricane. If there is no God, according to these atheistic persons, why don't you stop the suffering? In California, there's a lot of different earthquakes. As a matter of fact, you can go to a website on the internet called the USGS. This is the United States Geological Service, where you can actually see they measure the hurricane as they, not the hurricane, but the earthquakes exactly as they happen, with the location, the size on the Richter scale. So for those who say there is no God, well, why don't you stop the earthquake? Stop the hurricane. Our good friend Rupesh Prabhu in Bombay knows in India during the monsoon, the rainy season, in places like Karnataka, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, sometimes they have big floods. It looks like the ocean everywhere. Several years ago, there was a big, massive flood. And there was a sacred place in Andhra Pradesh called Mantralaya. This is a place that Lord Ramachandra, when he was on his way to kill Ravana in Sri Lanka, he stopped there for some time. And the followers of Madhvacharya have a very nice mata over there, a very nice temple. So there was a big, big flood there several years back, and nobody could even see anything. It was just water everywhere. So for those who are atheists, why don't you stop the flood? The fact of the matter is, no one can counteract these miseries of material existence, regardless of how advanced they are in knowledge, how much wealth they have, how beautiful they may be, how intelligent they may be, because that is the condition of living in the material world. Dukkhalayam asasvatam. Dukkha means miseries. So one has to develop the intelligence to perceive the danger of accepting these miseries. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna defines intelligence, Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha anudarsanam. Dukkha dosha means the fault of accepting these miseries. Anudarsanam means intelligent discrimination. That an intelligent person will see the danger of accepting these conditions. So therefore, the intelligent person will ask, well, how do I get out of these conditions? Why is there so much suffering? Just like in various countries around the world, we see that so many people are busy constructing charitable institutions with philanthropic activities, with various schools, hospitals, dispensaries, so much social work. Of course, this has always been there in human society, people making different, oh, there's a very nice verse that has come here. The verse 8 and 12, yes, thank you very much, Rupesh Prabhu and Nilesh Sharma. They're quoting exactly from the Bhagavad Gita, Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha dosha anudarsanam. So we see that there is so much activity. Oh, maybe we'll go to that exactly. The perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease. Let's see in the purport, we can locate Prabhupada's exact comment on this. A little further in the purport. Let's see if we can find this. Further down. This is a very important point that Srila Prabhupada so many times was preaching about. As a matter of fact, there was a very nice lecture where Prabhupada is speaking very loudly. Why do you accept the miseries of birth? Why do you accept the miseries of old age? Why do you accept the miseries of death and disease? No one wants these conditions. No one wants this suffering, but yet it is imposed upon us by material nature. It is forced upon us. Prabhupada explains, one should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. These are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of, there are descriptions in various Vedic literatures of birth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of the unborn, the child stay in the womb of the mother, its suffering, etc., are all very graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother. We do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Similarly, at the time of death, there are all kinds of sufferings, and they're also mentioned in the authoritative scriptures. These should be discussed. As far as disease and old age are concerned, everyone gets practical experience. No one wants to be diseased, and no one wants to become old. But there is no avoiding these unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distress of birth, death, old age, and disease. There's no impetus for our making advancement in spiritual life. The question comes up, how to solve this problem? Krishna has given that solution. One has to accept a bona fide Acharya, a bona fide spiritual preceptor. Then one can start to find out the solution. There is a solution. It is not to complain. It is not to lament. It is not to procrastinate. We see in the news every day, you can divide the news into two basic categories. Sochati, kankshati. There is all kinds of advertisement, hankering, constantly hankering for sense gratification. And when that sense gratification is frustrated, sochati, they lament. Lamentation and constant hankering. This is the problem in the material world. This is a constant struggle. Excuse me. It is a constant struggle. And the only person who can give the solution to this struggle is the bona fide Acharya, authorized bona fide Acharya. They have the solution to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, to take shelter of the message of Godhead. Just today, early this morning after chanting, I was reading a purport from Srila Prabhupada. The Prabhupada said sometimes people bring up the argument that Krishna departed 5,000 years ago, so how to associate with Krishna? How to come in contact with Krishna? And Prabhupada said, Krishna is non-different from his book, Bhagavad Gita. When we are reading Bhagavad Gita, that is direct association with Krishna. The message spoken by Krishna, by God himself. Same thing for the Srimad Bhagavatam. This wonderful book of 18,000 verses is the message about Krishna, about all the activities of Krishna, the name of Krishna, his incarnations of Krishna. Anything related to Krishna, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, Prabhupada has made comments that the Srimad Bhagavatam has arisen after the departure of Lord Krishna. Kalo nasta drisamesa, Puranarko adunoditaha. This great Purana, this great transcendental literature has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to give light to the people of this age, people that are suffering from illusion and ignorance. That this Bhagavatam is the direct manifestation of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport that by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is direct contact, direct association with Lord Krishna. And this is the solution. One cannot think, oh, I don't see Krishna. Well, you can become qualified to see Krishna. We can become qualified to see Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, we have often discussed this verse, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena, that those whose eyes are smeared with love of God, they can see, they can understand, they can have constant contact with Krishna. Several times Prabhupada was asked, whether you see God, whether you see Krishna, or have you ever seen Krishna? And one time Prabhupada says, even if I see, what does that use for you? What does that do for you? You have to learn how to see Krishna, how to associate with Krishna. You have to remove the ignorance. You have to get the proper set of eyes, the proper vision. Then one can see Krishna. Then one understand Krishna. And how to acquire that set of eyes, that vision? Just like there is a medical condition with cataract. There's a way to have an operation, a medical procedure to remove the cataract. It is not that if one has cataract, he's condemned to be blind forever. He can cure it. It's possible to cure it. But one has to go to the expert physician who knows how to perform this operation. Then one will be able to see properly. Similarly, the great physician, Srila Prabhupada, knows how to cure that disease of material suffering, how to remove that suffering. And the first point, which we have often discussed, is to learn the art of submissive oral reception. In the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, Prabhupada said one should associate with a sadhu by hearing, not by seeing. One may see so many sadhus, so many saintly persons or people in the garb of saintly persons, but one has to develop the art of hearing, proper hearing. That is the important point. Then one will be able to see. We repeat during these various invocations, Om Ajnana Timirandasya, Timira Andasya, the darkness of ignorance. We said that we were stuck, we were absorbed, Ajnana Timirandasya, ignorance, the darkness of ignorance. Jnana Anjana Shalakaya. Anjana is this ointment that ladies put on their eyes, trying to make their eyes beautiful. Anjana. Jnana Anjana, the knowledge, the ointment of transcendental knowledge. So look, this is very nice here. Can you increase the size of the text a little bit? The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Shukadeva, after leaving his paternal home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him in his exalted position. A sage is not therefore recognized by sight, but by hearing. One should approach a sadhu or great sage not to see, but to hear him. If one is not prepared to hear the words of a sadhu, there is no profit. Sukadeva Goswami was a sadhu who could speak on the transcendental activities of the Lord. He did not satisfy the whims of ordinary citizens. He was recognized when he spoke on the subject of Bhagavatam, and he never attempted jugglery like a magician. Outwardly, he appeared to be a retarded, dumb madman. But in fact, he was the most elevated transcendental personality. Now, as we were discussing, Srila Prabhupada many times explained this, Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena. The bona fide physician, the bona fide guru, can remove the darkness of ignorance and give transcendental vision. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Therefore, we offer our most respectful obeisances to such a bona fide spiritual master. And this is very important because sometimes people misunderstand the entire purpose of associating with a sadhu. Why did Prabhupada start his society? Why did he create this society of Krishna consciousness? In the fourth canto of the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada said, we have started this society to give everyone the chance to associate with the spiritual master. Who is he referring to? He's indirectly referring to himself. Now, if somebody is in Delhi or Bombay and Srila Prabhupada is in London, how are they going to associate with the spiritual master? Just like our good friend, Neil Prabhu, Nirshama Prabhu, is in Miami or Fort Lauderdale. How is he going to associate with the spiritual master? By hearing. Because we see from practical observation that many persons who had a lot of direct contact, personal physical contact with the Acharya, failed to hear. And Prabhupada says in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta in Madhya-lila, unless one is enlightened by the knowledge given by the spiritual master, he cannot see things as they are, even though one remains constantly with the spiritual master. Physical association is very nice. It's very beneficial. It's very sweet. It's very fortunate for those who have the direct physical association with Prabhupada. We feel very blessed. But that is no guarantee of spiritual understanding. And we've seen this. We have seen a whole flock of these people claiming that the Acharya, the Nitya Siddha from the spiritual world, was simply a worker for hire, for their corporation. The height of madness, the height of illusion, even though these persons had constant association, constant physical association with Prabhupada, yet they failed to properly hear. They did not hear. I often keep referring the difference between the Rupanuga Sampradaya, or the bona fide followers of Rupa Goswami, and those who belong to the Rupi Anuga Sampradaya. Rupee refers to the currency of the state of India, Bharat. Well, why do we say this? Because some people are obsessed simply making money under the dress of Vaishnavas. That is not the idea of being a follower of Srila Prabhupada or a follower of Rupa Goswami. We have to be very careful to distinguish between both, because there is a big difference. And we will deal with this topic, story to be continued. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada, and thank you very much for your discussion on today's verses, these transcendental descriptions of the spiritual world being delivered to us by Srila Prabhupada. And it is true that hearing is liberation when the message is bona fide. It's actually blissful. Unfortunately, most people have no taste for hearing. That's evident. And it can be somewhat disappointing, but at the same time, this is the reality of the material world, where people are suffering due to the modes of nature, predominantly the modes of passion and ignorance. And this is all pervasive in the human society, that everything is motivated under the basis of money and sex. And people are motivated to enjoy life because they think, I can live forever in this body. This is a mistake. And these miseries, birth, death, disease, and old age, they affect everyone. Now we think, oh, not me. I know when I was a younger man, I thought, well, I wonder what it's like to be. Prabhupada used to say to us, Yaśodā-nandana, just give one life to Krishna. I thought, geez, that's a long time. But the fact of the matter is, it's a short time. But we couldn't see it. I was mentioning at the beginning of the program, Garuda Prabhu, I read some interesting sections from the Nectar of Devotion, but I also mentioned Kamsahanta Prabhu, my godbrother. And some of you may know him. But it was profound to see how terrible he looked in that body today in the photo. It was simply a broken down machine. And there he is at the end of his journey in time. His son was explaining in the message, oh, he cannot speak. Oh, well, we think, oh, it won't be me. I won't be stuck in a wheelchair or in a hospice bed, or I won't be unconscious, won't be able to speak. No. These types of difficulties face us all. And we're very fortunate, all of us, that we have an opportunity to be protected by the spiritual internal energy of the Lord and not be a victim simply like the cats and dogs dying in the streets. No value. The truth is explained here in these programs. Some people would criticize, well, how come you're speaking about these so-called gurus that are existing in not only the ISKCON group, but all these phony gurus that exist throughout the world, phony preachers. How come you? Because it's imperative that the truth be spoken, that this is the highest welfare work that exists, especially when you realize what your real fate is. You can think, oh, well, I'm walking around, I'm driving my car, I'm enjoying my lunch or my dinner. But the fact of the matter is, Rupesh, Nilesh, Prabhu, that when you're in the hospital, that all stops, as you know. You sit there and you go, I can't get up, I can't walk down the stairs, I can't get into my Mercedes-Benz, I can't do anything. Over. It's over. That journey of mobility has stopped. But if you are a devotee of Krishna, even in difficulty, you can still hear. The hearing is the highest sense of with the greatest capacity. Yes, to hear and understand and learn. We all know that. I mean, we have two professionals with our group, Nilesh Prabhu and Garuda Prabhu. Everything you do is based on sound. That's all it is. You're not going and picking up things, lifting cement blocks and going building buildings. You're speaking and people are listening, and you're listening and people are speaking. So politicians these days, they claim, it was so fascinating, Prabhu's from America, to watch this spectacle. It was just stunning. Very interesting. Politicians claim to solve all the problems of life. But this is not true as well. It is not true. It's a lie. Sure, some people are better than others. Some people can solve problems like wars, for example. Hopefully the president of the new president of the United States will be able to accomplish this by Krishna's grace. That's very important. And maybe he'll stop all of this wokeism. Let's see. Maybe he'll give extra money from the so-called organization of taxes so that people will have more money. They'll be happy. Oh yeah, but will you die? Yes, you will. Will the money save you? I don't care if you have millions of dollars. That will not save you from birth, death, disease, old age, from the miseries caused by others. I have a friend, actually he was a partner of mine. He's worth, these days, $200 million. He worked with me. I taught him in the beginning of my career after I left the temple how to do real estate. He carried on, he did very well. He's worth a fortune. But is he happy? No. Does he have a good marriage? No. Does he have complications with his children? Yes. So is it a solution that you get money? That all your problems are solved? They're not solved. The only way to solve the problem is to get the opportunity to learn about material life by the mercy of a bona fide spiritual master. And that's why, Garuda Prabhu, you joined the mission back in the 70s. Not in 2024. You joined them because you heard things that you could never get anywhere else except from Srila Prabhupada. Period. You didn't have to be a scholar. You just had to be submissive and listen and then do something about it. And this is how Krishna consciousness was spread, by people that were sincere and could see the difficulty they were in. This is a very deluded modern day society and their leaders. These people are their followers are also very bewildered unless we have a pessimistic view. Prabhupada said today, and thank you for bringing the verse up in the purport. It's something I've always remembered reading. Unless we have a pessimistic view of material life, there is no impetus to get out of this material existence. So someone could say, well, why do you say this body is a bag of blood, pus, stool, and urine, Vishva? People used to mock me back in the day, Garuda, when I was a brahmachari. Yeah, we're nothing but a bag of pus, stool, and urine. Well, that's quite negative. Well, it's true. It is very negative. Nobody likes to think that, but it's a fact. I always remember, Nilesh, the story of Liquid Beauty, where the woman gathered all of her items from her body and showed her lover, oh, this is what I am. Oh my God, it's terrible. Well, it is. Prabhupada told us the material body is a bad bargain for the spirit soul. And look at how ugly we actually become as we get older and older. It's actually stunning. Embarrassing, really. But still, there is hope for us because we have a transcendental message, a transcendental mission, a transcendental opportunity to get out of this repeated cycle of birth and death by serving Srila Prabhupada and his mission and promoting his teachings, which is the greatest welfare work. And we're doing that. As you know, Nilesh, we're going ahead. I know people have been asking us about the publication of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So many obstacles. Inconceivable. I'm not going over it with you. I don't want to bore you with it. It's our job. Of course, everyone has problems, but the fact of the matter is, this is a great service. And if we can carry on, Garuda, and continue to publish books, even in a small level, and distribute them, this will please Srila Prabhupada very much. And in this way, we will get the mercy of Krishna in our life. Be absorbed in your service. Total sound pollution is the biggest problem for the human being. Sound pollution. How bad is it? Well, Nilesh, do you like listening to CNN? Can you stand them? Can you stand these people on these NBC? It's actually revolting. These women, they're dressed up. They've got, and it's interesting to note, sorry for bringing this up, but these are things we're seeing. Nancy Pelosi, she's like looking like 58. She's had about 15 plastic surgeries in the last 2 years just to make herself look younger, even though if you took away those plastic surgeries, how do you think she would look? Kellyanne Conway, totally her face changed. All these women spending millions of dollars on plastic surgery because they dread the fact of getting old. They're insane. This whole society, Garuda, has gone mad. At least there's a better opportunity in a short period that things will become more positive. Okay, fair enough. But it's still not the solution. So some things, same thing. I wanted to mention that Yaśodā was reading about Prabhupada's present in these books. Krishna is present in these books. And I'm reading the Nectar of Devotion, Garuda. I had to move on. I was trying to, now that I finished the Gita, I was feeling really, what am I going to read next? And I've been enjoying this particular book in an amazing way. It's hard to explain. It's really taking me back in time. When we got those books, I mentioned it earlier, in the 70s, and we read them, and it's just bringing back so many wonderful transcendental realizations of Prabhupada's mercy on us to give us this opportunity to practice devotional service according to the teachings of Rupa Goswami. How great is that, Nilesh? Nothing better. You can bring me all this sound pollution that's in the newspapers, what to speak of on the internet. It's overwhelming. And then you see everybody every day. Yaśodā, the society's gone insane. Everywhere you go, all people do is look at their phone. I'm always wondering, what the hell are you looking at? What are you really looking at? I'm curious. I don't go over and go, hey, let me look at that. Let me see how stupid you are. But the fact of the matter is, this society, this modern technology is driving people insane. It's a society of mad people. And we're here, the Prabhupada Disciples Association. I'll end up now. To give people an opportunity to hear the truth without any change or alteration from a pure devotee, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. And I want to thank all of you for coming and attending this program with us and supporting our effort to promote this message of truth to the world. This is a global responsibility that we all have together. Hare Krishna. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please.
Very important point that you've raised. I want to discuss a video that I saw with one of Prabhupada's first disciples, Brahmananda Swami. What happens that he was reading Bhagavad Gita in Vrindavan, and he was explaining that this Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 7, indirectly predicts the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila Prabhupada. And the way they explain it is on the basis of the purport. The text itself says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of a religion, at that time I descend myself. Now, when we look at the purport, the next to last paragraph, it is explained, therefore each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they're all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can advent himself anywhere and everywhere and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form. Now, this is very important because the social circumstances at the time of the appearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there was disturbances in India at that time. India was governed by the British Empire. During the time of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, when he came to America, there was a lot of confusion with the Vietnam War and so many different social changes. And Brahmananda's point is that at that time, Krishna decided to send these great, powerful personalities to revive God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. Very important, valuable point. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, very interesting. Garuda Prabhu, I know you're coming to our programs and really being a part of this discussion and explanation of truth without compromise. We are not interested in compromise. Garuda Prabhu, please, if you could comment. Flick the switch, click the button. Maybe you have to be unmuted.
I think
Rupesh, could you unmute
host,
him?
the host has to unmute me.
I'll announce it to Rupesh each time. Go ahead, Garuda Prabhu.
You can hear me? You can hear me?
Oh yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, very good. Just briefly.
Yes.
Well, there's so many points, my gosh. You know, in my seva as a scholar, I have to read so many other scholars' works. I have to read, even in our past tradition, in different texts right from directly from the Sanskrit and so on. But, you know, when I read anything other than Prabhupada's books, it's sort of like, you know, when you come by different bodies of water, some water seems a little murky. You might put your hands in it just to wash your hands. But there's some bodies of water that are just pure and you just dive in. Prabhupada's books are like that for me. I know they're like that for everyone here, that there is the openness and total trust in Prabhupada's books. With other books, you go in with a certain measure of caution and trepidation sometimes when you read other people's stuff. Now, in my seva, I have to do that. I have to read other people's stuff, but it's not the same as reading Prabhupada's words. As both you and Yaśodā-nandana ji were saying, that Prabhupada's words are so potent that they bring in the divine world to us. But we also know the words are potent, that look how damaging and destructive words can be. The internet bullying among teenagers, for example, or young adults, caused some teenagers or young adults to commit suicide. Words are powerful. And as I think I've mentioned before, the last sutra text of the Vedanta Sutra is anavriti shabdat. Anavriti shabdat. It's repeated twice in the same sutra text, very emphatic, that it is because of sound that we become liberated. Well, it's also from the cycle of birth and death, but it's also sound that can keep us bound. And this is what I heard you saying, Vishwakarmaji, the sound of the news. I don't listen to the news at all, ever. I won't allow these people to use my eardrums. And the visual diet also, I will not allow. I may read something quickly for the day to make sure there's no atomic bomb coming my way and to get the basic gist of things, so I'm not completely uninformed, but that's it. So reading it is good, is a brief summary, but hearing it is not healthy, and seeing it is not healthy. Our visual and auditory diets are so important. Just one other quick thing is I don't want to take up too much time here. Yaśodā-nandana ji in his reading was reading something about Patanjali and how this is that it can be destructive reading the commentaries on Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. But Prabhupada respected and revered Patanjali himself and the Yoga Sutra itself. And I'm being guided by these words right now as I complete my bhakti, the world's first bhakti commentary on the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. That'll be printed by Yale University Press. So I'm very excited about this because he is a bhakta. He is a theist, as Prabhupada says. But the commentators reduce him to a mundane Sankhya-esque worldview. They are reductionistic and they're disrespectful to Patanjali's actual thesis. So I'm very excited about this. And it's, I love getting the guidance from Prabhupada's words on how to approach Patanjali. So this is just sharing my exciting seva right now. So
congratulations on your efforts. We're glad you're preaching in your own field of activity, and it happens to coincide with our mission. We wanted to ask Tim Lee in California, and then we'll go to Nilesh, of course. First, I wanted to ask Tim Lee if he could share some of his comments this evening on these subject matters that we're delving into. Tim.
Hey.
Rupesh, yeah,
Hi, Bo. Hi, Bo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I should have said Puranjana. I'm sorry I said Tim Lee, but you're known by both. Hare Krishna.
No, that's okay. People know me by mostly Tim Lee because I put my name Tim Lee on Facebook. But yeah, it's funny because sometimes somebody from India or ISKCON or something like that will write and say, "Oh, I have a question about ISKCON. Are you a member of ISKCON?" You know, they see my comments and stuff like that. So being Tim Lee is an advantage on Facebook because then these people write to me from India and from ISKCON, and then all of a sudden they find out I'm Paranjan and I've got all these different, websites and things like that. And so I made progress with different people for that reason, kind of like, I'm kind of like a hidden agent sort of thing. But I've been debating a little bit with a Gaudiya Math guy, and no matter what I say, he's just got one answer. Well, Sridhar Maharaj is your superior. You can't argue with your superior. And, he's an elderly devotee and a great Vaishnava, and it doesn't matter what he said or how he said it or anything else. You have to accept because he's your senior. So I'm trying to make the point with this guy. A senior person to me has my superior has superior information to give me. If he's superior to me, he's going to give me something higher than what I already have. And for Sridhar to say, my godbrother should just wear the guru uniform, and the uniform will show you what to do. And then those godbrothers wanted to give me a guru uniform, make me the guru of Ireland. That is not superior information. First of all, I tried to make the point, they wanted to make me a guru. The person who makes the guru is not me, and it's not the GBC. The person who makes the guru is empowered by Krishna. The guru is Sakshat Hari Tvena. He has the same quality, same qualification as Krishna. He speaks as Krishna dictates. So that doesn't come from me or a committee or Sridhar or anybody else. It comes from Krishna. The super soul advises the pure devotee. That's the system. So I'm trying to explain all it to this guy, but he just keeps coming back with, yeah, but you're not the superior. So I don't know. But he certainly can't defeat me. He says, you keep repeating the same questions. He's getting a little frustrated. I said, well, yeah, that's because you didn't answer the first question in the first place. How can Sridhar authorize these people? But there, a lot of people also don't realize a lot of the Sridhar transcripts are online. You can go find them, and you can find all these goofy things that he says. He told the GBC you can take sins and all kinds of things. So I brought some of that forward as well. But anyway, it's, I'm making progress gradually with this guy because he's realizing, it's not working. Then I've got another whole guy, different guy. He's in India. He's an ISKCON guy. And he's making comments like, oh, no one should make all these criticisms of ISKCON. Oh, it's horrible. How are the new people going to come? And, oh, we need ISKCON. And so I just wrote a comment on this thing, and I says, no, ISKCON needs us. ISKCON needs us. We do not need ISKCON. ISKCON needs us, the people who make ISKCON. And I think he got it. He made a positive little thing on my comment. I think he's starting to get it. ISKCON needs the devotees. And I was removed from ISKCON, and that was to the disadvantage of ISKCON, and it was to my advantage because I was no longer in the company of these foolish people. So I benefited by them getting me out, but ISKCON did not benefit. All right, Haribo.
Thank you very much. ISKCON, the question is ISKCON a corporation or is it a lifestyle? Is it a practice of bhakti yoga, or is it an institution with hierarchy and donations and buildings, etc.? So we're not going to discuss that now, but I have been discussing it as well with different people because they're saying, never leave ISKCON. Oh, I never left ISKCON. We are ISKCON. ISKCON is a practice, a lifestyle. It is not a corporation. That corporation has deviated. And Garuda, that's why they have big bank accounts. That's why they fall down with women. They're so-called sannyasis. That's why they have changed the books. There's so many things. So we've never left ISKCON. ISKCON, they left us, the so-called corporation, and we are carrying on. And Nilesh Sharma, yes, my friend.
Hare Krishna, Jai
So
Srila Prabhupada.
tentatively, and Yashoda's here waiting for your questions. Don't make too many. One at a time, please.
We'll try. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Very interesting class, very interesting topic. I have questions from the part which you started off with, Vishwakarma Prabhu, and then all the way down. It's interesting when you see is that you mentioned about Nancy Pelosi and her so many so-called plastic surgeries. And if you notice, if you look at it from a spiritual aspect, which we learned from Srila Prabhupada, is why do women spend so much money to look young? Now, not only women, but even men. Why do they spend so much money? Because nobody wants to get old. This concept that nobody wants to get old comes from where? Where does it stem from? Because you are the spirit soul, which is Sat Chit Ananda. You are Sat, you are eternal. Getting old is foreign to you. Death is foreign to you. Birth is foreign to you. Disease is foreign to you. So in order for you to what you call identify yourself, that where does these thoughts come from? Because they misidentify themselves with the body, they think a younger body is a younger them, but it's not. The body is going to go through these different processes. And when this body is going to go through these different processes, no matter what you do, you're still going to get old and you're still going to die. So That was an interesting analogy, which I thought it was. But what I'd like to share over here is, a lot of people spoke about this Guru Tattva, and what I'd like to show you over here is, sorry, give me 1 second, is we sing this statement every morning for Guru Puja, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Aikya. I just kind of put it into the Vani quotes and look at what Prabhupada is saying. One of the good thing over here, if you can read this, Narottam Das Thakura advises everyone to stick to the principle of carrying out the orders of the spiritual master. One should not desire anything else. If the regulative principles ordered by the spiritual master are followed rigidly, the mind will gradually be trained to desire nothing but service of Krishna. Such training is perfection of life. This is in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, and in Canto 8. I like this particular part especially. That Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Aikya, Arana Kori Ho Mane Asha. Especially for spiritual advancement, one should carry out the bona fide order of the spiritual master. By the parampara system, one can thus be endowed with the original spiritual power. Praptasya kalyana gunarna vasya. The original spiritual power coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Evam parampara praptam rajarso mamvidu. You see? So this part is very, very clear, is that if we don't, especially for, especially for spiritual advancement, see this? By the parampara system, one can thus be endowed with the original spiritual power. So those of us who have become self-appointed gurus, do we have this original spiritual power coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead? And if we don't have that power, how will we endow others to connect with this spiritual power? So the idea is we need to stick to the original words of the spiritual master. And so many of us, especially in ISKCON, they gloat over their physical association with Srila Prabhupada. Well, the 11 Ritviks who were appointed, they were the closest physically to Srila Prabhupada. What happened to them? Is the physical association that important? Why did it not work on them? Why could not they follow the Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Te Koriya Aikya? You see, why others chose to follow it, even though they may not have been so physically close to Srila Prabhupada. So what is that distinction? What is that difference? I wish Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu can expound on that. And then I have one more question for him. But let us learn from Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu about the difference between the people who are physically associated, who could not follow Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, and those who could follow Guru Mukha Padma Vakya.
Srila Prabhupada explained in a letter in 1970 to one of his senior disciples, as soon as there is personal motivation, it is not possible to understand our Krishna consciousness philosophy, unquote. That is the basic answer. In other words, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given the essence of spiritual life, of Krishna consciousness, of Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy in his Shikshastakam. Nadanam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye. So he explaining that one should not aspire for beautiful women and money and wealth and fame, or becoming a famous poet. Simply, one should aspire bhavatat bhakti tu kitvayi, that causeless devotion, birth after birth. That is the essence of Lord Chaitanya's teaching, the essence of all of Acharya's teachings, and the essence of what Prabhupada was teaching. But for a sadhaka or a practitioner who has not yet achieved the perfection of spiritual life, one has to be very, very careful not to be misled by so many what's called in Sanskrit upashakas or weeds. The seed of devotional service is given. One gets the chance to receive the seed of devotional service from the guru when one becomes initiated. But if one does not receive the seed or does not cultivate the seed properly, Prabhupada said, then one may receive the political bij, the social bij, or the philanthropic bij, or karma bij, or jnana bij. In other words, one has to hear submissively from the Acharya and practice. One has to chant, one has to do all of the various things. Then one will be able to understand Krishna consciousness. But it happens practically from practical observation. But some persons are more interested in cultivating social bij, political bij, or political nonsense, or philanthropic bij, or so many other pursuits, because they are motivated for name, fame, power, profit, adoration, distinction. In a nutshell, that is given. There are many purports in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which Srila Prabhupada explains all of these various upashakas or distracting problems. Simple with that. It's not a very complicated thing to understand. Prabhupada has explained this in so many different ways in his various books, in his various lectures, in his conversation. It depends on the sincerity and the purpose. And if one gets, because we see, practically speaking, when one cultivates a garden, that some weeds may resemble almost like the original plant that one is trying to cultivate. Take spinach, for example. There's different varieties of spinach, but there's a lot of different weeds that may look just like spinach, but they're not. So similarly, one has to be on guard against unauthorized practices, unauthorized ideas, unauthorized so-called philosophies. Otherwise, one will be misled. It's as simple as that. I hope that helps.
Hare Krishna. Yes. And then the next part was in the beginning of the class, Vishwakarma Prabhu kind of read that without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed. Then I remember Prabhupada talking to, I think, Madhu Dvisa Das Prabhu or somebody, where what happens when you go for book distribution where people do not get a chance to associate with devotees in the temple? And Prabhupada says, reading my books alone, they get initiated. So how do we compare these two notes?
Well, the issue is not complicated. In order to receive the mercy of the spiritual master, first of all, one has to hear, one has to understand. It's just like, it's very similar to the argument where people say, oh, you're not an ISKCON. My first rebuttal to this, what is the con? What is the KCON? We know what the IS was for. The International Society was created for a specific purpose, to promote the principles of Krishna consciousness, KCON. Is the current organization claiming to be the IS really practicing the KCON and following Prabhupada's teachings in its pure and original form? That's a question which has to be answered before one can discuss whether one is in and out of ISKCON. What is ISKCON? I often related that story, how we went to South India in Coimbatore, Mysore, Bangalore in 1972. And when Prabhupada asked us, what do you do in the morning? What do you, Prabhupada wanted to know, what do you do? I said, well, we get up like 3:30, 3:45, take a cold bath, put tilak, have Mangal Artik, and then we have the Nrsimha prayers, the Tulsi prayers, we chant japa, we have Bhagavatam. And we told Prabhupada, well, we don't have ISKCON centers down there. Prabhupada said, that is ISKCON. Practicing this is ISKCON. In Hawaii, when the question was raised, what are many devotees, they don't live in the temple, they're not engaged in the Sankirtan. Prabhupada said, it doesn't matter whether they live in the temple or not in the temple. They just have to follow the process. So initiation means to follow the process. the transcendental process given by the Acharya. One may have received an external initiation or an initiation ceremony, but unless one follows the proper process and the instruction of spiritual master, it will not give much benefit. And we've practically seen this of many persons who had a lot of personal, physical, I love that word, living association, but yet are no longer practicing properly, or are speaking so many nonsense, deviated apasiddhantas or pratisiddhantas against the conclusion of Krishna consciousness. That's why I keep referring of the difference between bona fide Rupa Anugas or followers of Rupa Goswami, as per the foremost representative of Rupa Goswami Srila Prabhupada, and those who are practicing Rupi Anuga Sampradaya. They're simply concerned with money or name and fame. We have to learn to distinguish between both of those. Hare Krishna. I hope it helps. Anybody else wants to make a comment? Okay, we can conclude the program. Thanks everybody for participating. We can have the Kirtan, Rupesh Prabhu and Neil Shyama Prabhu. Let's have the Kirtan, and then we'll offer the respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Try to fix the sound.
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desired trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone. Thanks everybody for participating, and we invite everybody to reconvene on Saturday morning at 7:00 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Florida time, and Ontario, Canada time. Again, thanks everybody for participating. Looking to see you on Saturday morning. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.